Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to another DevReach 2023 speaker interview. Today with me, I have the amazing Maddy Montaquila.
Oh, hi. Oh, my notifications are on. I'm doing great already. Hi.
Maddie, welcome. I'm so pumped to have you speaking at DevReach this year, back in Bulgaria again, and to be interviewing you. How's your Tuesday going?
It is good. It's crazy. We're actually in the middle of releasing something right now. So I'm very happy to take a 15-minute break from the 4-hour call that I've been on all day. So,
Oh my, well, we won't keep you too long, but we have to find out a little bit about you and get
oh
a
yeah.
little teaser. So tell us, how did you get into development and .NET specifically? How'd that happen?
Yeah. Well, I like to always relate back to when I was a child and I installed Barbie Fashion Show on my PC sometime in like the late 90s, early 2000s. And I just kept hitting like next and install and yes. And then all of a sudden I could play Barbie Fashion Show. And I was like, damn. I mean, dang, computers are cool.
Yes.
I promise I probably was swearing at that age,
Yeah,
but
me
okay.
too.
Um, and I was like, yeah, computers are cool. I would like to
Mm,
do that maybe one day. And then I did not remember that very much for most of my young adult life, or I guess like teenage years. And then sometime when I was
mm.
applying for college, I was like, computers, I liked those. I thought
Those
those were
exist,
cool.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. I played a lot of games, you know?
Mm.
I installed many more games in my time besides Barbie Fashion Show, so, I mean, like, I got really good at that. Maybe someone has to, like, work on those things, and that's kinda where it started.
Mm.
I really had none of my parents not technical, like, I thought I was gonna do, like, math or, like, electrical engineering, and so I didn't realize that, like, people had to build the things that made computers work, which is really funny in hindsight, but I just did not think of it as a career path.
Mm.
Yeah, when I went to college, I started in electrical engineering, and then I was like, "Maybe I'll try the coding thing. I could do, like, robots." And I ended up getting, an internship writing a JavaScript chatbot,
Oh
which is
my gosh.
totally not at all, like, what I thought I was gonna do, and I was like, but I was
That's
lucky
awesome.
that that internship was at Microsoft, and there were a lot of different things I got exposed to, and that was kind of the beginning of the end. So,
Okay, that's
yeah.
so right now you're currently a senior product manager for Microsoft. What did you go straight from like I interned and then I senior product managered? Like was
Yeah,
that
yeah, just
the
like
path
that. I just,
just
like,
that?
woke up one day. No. I, went back to do another software engineering internship at a
Mm,
different company, actually on
mm,
robotics, because I at some point in my Microsoft internship, like, long story short, I was like, "I don't think I can be just a full-time software engineer. I think I need to
mm.
do something that's, like, software adjacent," and there was a lot of soul searching there. Um, but I
There
went back
always
to
is, yeah.
another software engineering internship and was still like, "Nope, PM is for me." But, when I was an intern, Microsoft acquired this company, Xamarin,
Mm,
and
yeah.
they were in Boston, which is where I'm at, and they were looking for, maybe some help on the product side, to get some, like, new people in now that they were part of Microsoft, and I was like, "Pick me," because this was before, like, remote work was a thing that people did, so,
Mm.
I was like, "You're in Boston, I'll work for your team." I love the .NET, and that's where it all
Yeah,
began.
that's awesome. You sound so like me where I'm like, "Yes, all of the .NET. That is me."
Yep, yep. Well, I love it. It is
So
a, language.
and, like, what I we're gonna, like, jump ahead a little bit, but for people who like, listeners who aren't very, like, .NET-y, can you give us a TLDR on the difference? Because, you started in the Xamarin world, and now there's .NET MAUI. What's the difference? What's the situation? What is going on?
Very good questions. I will not jump into the history lesson,
Oh.
which, like, I feel like I'm like an archaeologist or something, because I really wasn't there for the beginning of the Xamarin, like, story, so I get to
Mm.
tell, like, the story how I've heard it from a bunch of different people. Like, archaeologist is not the word, you know what I mean? I should do a
No.
documentary, but, like, I was not there, so me telling it is very funny because people who were there are very much alive and still work on these things and laugh at the way I tell it. But basically, Xamarin was this thing that was a separate company that was basically like, "We wanna bring .NET to not just Windows PCs and websites," right?
Mhm,
We want .NET to run on your phone, such as this
mhm.
thing called the iPhone. What? Never heard of those. And, like, at this point, the Windows Phone was a thing. So
Mm,
what if you could write one app that ran on your iPhone and your Windows Phone and your Android device?
mm,
So it was totally separate thing, and what they did was they actually built a different .NET runtime. So .NET is like the full stack, including the language, which is usually C sharp, but can also be F sharp or Visual Basic.
right.
Um, there's the actual runtime, which is the .NET stuff that tells it how to run. There's
Mm.
the frameworks and the blah blah blah, and like there's a whole there's the compiler and blah.
Right.
So they had built like a separate .NET runtime, and .NET was closed source at the time, and
I
so
know the way I heard it told it was like all sneaky bits and reverse engineering, and I
.NET
was
was
like,
really like
"Ugh,
sneaky. So they built
espionage."
like the open source one, and they called it mono because it was one for
Mm,
everything, not because
mhm.
it was a disease, which
Oh,
mono is.
okay. Yeah, this is a good explanation. These are
Yeah.
connecting a lot of dots I didn't have before. Okay.
Yeah, it's very fun. My story is mostly built on how ridiculous all the names of things are, always in all of history. But yeah, so we
Oh my gosh, so you know where Maui comes from then? You
oh, I
must.
do. Oh, I do. I was intimately involved in those naming discussions. But yeah, so Xamarin got acquired because .NET was like, hey, we should be open source. Like that's like
Mm,
the thing people do now in like
yeah,
2016,
they
2015.
do that, yeah.
And so they acquired Xamarin, and then Xamarin was like, "Cool, now we're like 2 people doing the same thing." And .NET was like, "Cool, why don't we just like unify all our stuff?"
Mhm,
And that's
mhm.
around when I joined, like right when they started to unify things.
Okay. Was it a
So,
mess or did it go flawlessly?
yeah, flawlessly.
Okay,
Totally.
good.
No, it was definitely a mess. I mean, we're still in the process of unifying things, right? Like,
Oh.
really what Maui was the big step to take all of the mobile things
Mm,
and unify it with like how the rest of .NET does development. So
okay.
making sure that all of the tooling experience are similar, like that we're using the same runtime, that if you have .NET installed, you don't need a different version of .NET to do mobile
Right.
development. It's all the same .NET version.
Mm,
So the way that Maui started was we were like, we could do all this with Xamarin, but Xamarin's been around for a long time and phones have changed a lot since Xamarin came out.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and a lot of people had started using Xamarin when it was very different than what it is now, so it feels like
Mm,
it's not the same thing anymore, so we should
yeah,
take the opportunity to rebrand as part of .NET, stop coming off like this fractured thing when in reality we aren't
I see.
actually that much anymore. So
Mm.
MAUI stands for Multi-Platform App UI.
That's right, it is an
It is,
acronym!
it is. We had all these cool names and we were doing like all of these user studies. I think we wanted to call it like Bloom. Like we had all these great ideas. And
I love it.
Microsoft, ever the eloquent naming of things, was like, no, do something that does not have any implication in any like third party anything.
Right,
Pick like a
right,
city. And we were
right.
like, no, like what?
Pick a
And they were
city.
like, well, you can do an acronym. And we were like, well, what if the acronym is
Oh my
a
gosh.
city? Like, or
Wait,
a
wait, wait,
place?
wait. So did you have to find the city and then make the acronym make sense?
We had the acronym first, and then we were like,
Okay.
how can we make MPUI multi-platform app, MA, no platform, Maui. And like there was a lot of magic that happened in there. It was very
Oh,
funny.
that's excellent. So now that Maui is out, what
Yes.
kind of benefits can devs expect like from migrating? Since it sounds like it is the next evolution and this unification, but like, is there any other point other than being like cool and hip with the times? Like,
Yeah, I mean, it's
yeah.
fast. If you're already on Xamarin, like it's
Mhm.
faster, it's definitely more robust. The way
Okay.
that we do a lot of the like platform specific different if you need to do different things on Android and iOS, like that's really clean.
Mm.
We've learned a lot. You get to leverage a lot more of the .NET tooling. So the .NET profiling tools like work now.
Mm.
Um, inside of Visual Studio, they just work with Windows, which is great. And then you can do some command line wizardry for Android and iOS. But
That's awesome.
um, I don't know. There's a lot of things. There's so many things. .NET
No,
Hot Reload works, so you can like
right?
C
I
sharp while the app is running.
I remember like everyone and their dog yelling that at me, and I'm like,
Yes.
"God,
Hot
why are you
Reload.
like, do you?" But that I was like, but you know, when you make an app on the web, it does that too, and they're like, "Pfft."
Yeah, like, sure, that's nice, but we do it in .NET and we're
But we
cool.
do it.
So,
So on the flip side, are there risks to devs using the Mauis?
I mean, upgrading always comes at some form of a cost.
Mm,
With if you're on Xamarin, again, like to upgrade is a small amount of work. You have to change like your project file to make it the modern project structure.
Yes.
Some of your code has to change. The namespaces have to change. We have a tool that kind of like does that for you.
Oh,
But
it's
we got rid of
like
some
a
like
almost like a schematic that'll like go in and do it for you kind of thing?
yeah, it's called the upgrade
Oh.
assistant. It gets you like most of the way there, but it is an assistant. So it will go into your namespace changes, but there are some things we changed like fundamentally. Instead of just adding arbitrary padding to things, we just
Mm,
stopped doing that. So if you
mm.
have some views where you just like used our arbitrary padding on say like a button,
Yeah.
those are gonna like that's
Okay.
the technical
Yep, yep,
term,
yep, yep.
and you're
Yeah,
gonna
no.
have to go add that padding back.
Mhm. Yes.
So you'll have to go in and like click through your app and make sure things work.
Okay.
There are also some things that like you used to define it in this part of the project, but now you define it in this other file. So if
Mm,
we don't pick that up with the upgrade assistant, which like we obviously can't do everything, everyone's project is different. You'll have to
yeah.
go in and basically just like build your app, see where it fails, and like move that over.
But other than like upgrading, it doesn't sound like there are
No,
downsides to using it.
no, not really. I mean, there are some bugs. The good thing is with bugs, we fix those things because they are filed. Um,
Mm, mhm,
and we
mhm.
aren't really doing bug fixes in Xamarin anymore, except for like
Oh,
specific stuff.
is that just because it's like perfect?
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
No, it's
Gotcha.
because it's the same team, and for us to do, like, anything that's not a critical bug fix in
Um,
Xamarin would basically be taking away from Maui work.
that makes sense. I
So
just assumed Xamarin had reached this state of
it is, yeah, it's perfect.
yeah, it was as all code does one day,
Right,
right?
which is why we totally chose to throw everything away and rebrand.
Right. So Xamarin support is end of May next year, right? I
Yes.
think. What happens for the people who are like, I haven't upgraded yet? Whoops.
So, like, nothing,
Oh.
unless you're trying to make updates to your app. So the
Mm,
reason that we have to have an end of life date is because
mhm.
Apple forces apps to be on the latest Xcode, be built against the latest Xcode versions
Okay.
so that you can push updates to the App Store. Android does that eventually too with Android versions, but they're like way more lackadaisical about it, so
Right.
it's not nearly as pressing.
Okay.
So basically for us to choose to take the latest Xcode support that would allow you to submit app updates after May 2024,
Mm,
for us to make that change in both Xamarin and then also do it in Maui, where obviously it has to be because it's the modern thing, was going to be like months and months of work. And so we would not have been able to put that work into Maui or anything else for that matter, like
mm,
.NET in general. So we had to kind of make that call. That's the next like reasonable date to do it. It also lines up well with when .NET 6, the long-term support version, goes out. So
mm.
people will have to be doing an upgrade then anyways for .NET stuff. The good news is though, if you're not making any updates to your app, you don't have to do anything. Like if you have
Okay.
an app that's out there and it works, don't worry
It's not
about it.
gonna like implode in May.
Yeah, it's not gonna implode, and you'll always be able to pull Xamarin, right? Like, it's an open source
Right.
project,
Mm,
same as Maui, so you can just go get it off of, like, GitHub and still build against it. You're just not gonna
mhm.
have the latest and greatest bits. For
Gotcha.
people who, like, are only doing internal apps too, that's
Mm,
fine because you don't have to go through the store.
mm.
So,
Right. No, that's true. That's true.
yeah.
So to wrap on a lighter note, what are you most excited about for DevReach? Anything exciting for you?
So many things! Oh my gosh. Okay. So, well, first of all, the only DevReach I've been to is the one that was in Boston, hometown.
Mhm.
Love it.
Mhm.
Had a great time. However, always fun to travel.
Mhm.
Always fun to not have go home and do chores when I'm doing a conference. I'm not sure if you've done any near your house, but you also have kids. So like imagine doing your conference stuff and then picking your kid up at school and like
Yeah.
parenting.
I decided one year I like MC for a conference, and I decided one year to bring my son so he could see me on stage, like doing my thing. And he was 3 at the time. This was actually last year, and it was awful because my heart was like in 2 places. Like he
Yeah.
was off doing fun things, like with my spouse during the day, and then I get to see him at night. But it was just it's like worlds colliding reference. So I totally feel you on that. It's like
Yeah.
hard if you're at home, like there's your home life yelling at you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And
So
I
it
was
is
looking at the
different.
speaker lineup and it is lit. There are a lot of people who I either like haven't met or only get to see like once in a blue moon. So I'm really excited to reconnect with those people.
Excellent.
So,
Excellent. Well, thank you, Maddie, so much for doing this interview. I know it's a busy release day, so we shall bid you adieu and good luck.
oh, wait, thank you. You are the best. I will see you soon.
Mwah.
Bye.
Bye.